Let's call the meeting in order. The Griggs County Commission, April 22nd, 2021. We'll stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. John.
Here.
Scott.
Here.
Mark.
Here.
Stephanie.
Here.
Dale is here. Get the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Mark to approve the agenda as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Stephanie. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Barring none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll take a look at the April 8th meeting minutes.
The only thing that changed since I sent him last night is we discovered that we didn't update the bills, so the bills have now been updated from the bills that you guys paid at that meeting.
The balances.
No, the bills, because we had the copy and paste, so then the bills were wrong. Wrong meeting.
Got it. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion by Mark to approve the minutes and dispense with reading.
Yep.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Scott. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Barring none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Take a look at the bills.
I'll motion to accept the bills.
Motion by Stephanie to accept the bills as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Barring none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
I'm not quite through them.
Okay. You went over a little bit on your building bathroom project, Wayne.
Yes. There was money carried over from last year, but it doesn't show up anywhere in the budget.
Money doesn't carry over in budgets.
Well, we have carried over from year to year when we were doing that building project. Those funds left. And we're not done yet because we have to finish the plumbing. I got spanked by the plumbing inspector. Because we're gonna do the plumbing ourselves the rest of it. I didn't go over, I had to be inspected.
We're doing most for ourselves, aren't we?
Well, we did the building.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
Anything else?
So what account are we gonna square up this overage and the additional work you have to do? I don't remember how much we had budgeted for that.
10,000.
I think there was 5,000 in the building repair fund, I think is all.
Let me look at the budget.
Building repairs was 5,000.
It can stay negative until next meeting then.
How much additional do you think it's gonna take to finish it out?
I don't know exactly how much. It's just fiddly work. You have to extend so we didn't extend the vent all the way through the roof. And it has to stick out through the roof, which is quite a ways up there, and we reduced it down and put a baffle thing on the top of it. And so the inspector had seen that, and I don't know if it was reported by somebody or something, but we just have to hook up the toilet, the sink, basin, and put a indoor-outdoor faucet through the wall so that you can hook up a hose in the shop side to wash the windows or whatever. We've got that already there, so just to do it.
You do have a shop expense miscellaneous of 6,500. We do have,
Yeah, can be taken out of shop expense.
or there's miscellaneous of 4,000, or you do have that large reserve in there.
Can you get us an estimate of what it'll cost to finish it, Wayne, for next meeting?
I can.
Yeah, that's the only question I had.
Proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Aye.
Stephanie votes aye. Dale votes aye. Motion carries. Jeff?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your support of Extension, and I thought I'd come in and show you what I've been up to in the last quarter, so from January through March. And I had 2 pesticide recertification meetings during that time frame. I had 27 people at one and 25 people at another. I surveyed the participants to find out some information about water hemp, and you can see that it's on 57% of the farm operations of those that attended, but only on 5% of the farmland it was reported, and that 97% of the producers will change their practices for managing water hemp because of attending those 2 meetings. I did help the Foster County agent out with his pesticide recertification. I spoke to 62 farmers over there at his trainings. 1 was online, the rest were in person. We've already talked about the success of the crops team and the hippology team a month ago, and I thank you for listening to that report then. And been doing NDSU Extension offers a virtual horticulture course, and I have been offering that in person here with that, and there's been 4 sessions, 2 of them in this past quarter, and we had a total of 13 people at those 2 meetings, which I was told was much better than when Megan was here. So I'm very happy with the turnout. We've had some very quality meetings and some good discussion at those meetings. And then, if you're not aware, I do write a weekly column for the Griggs County Courier, and been focusing that on horticulture and agronomic type topics. And I'm in the process of preparing for some field research. I thank Scott for letting me work on his farm, and then working with Matt Haugen on some plant growth enhancing trials. So that's what I've been up to in a nutshell. You can see the quarterly stats. I've attended or held 14 different meetings, and had 175 people that I reached in those meetings, and had 77 phone calls, emails, and texts, and office visits, and 1 home farm visit during that time frame. So that's what I've been up to, and again, I thank you for your support, and ask if there's any questions.
I don't have any. Thank you
No,
for all that you're doing.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You did a great job.
Thanks.
Wayne and Paul, who's got what?
Paul's got a couple pages here of information on project updates that we went through. CNOB, CNOC 2026, County Road 26 Railroad Project was completed and certified and signed by you. And the BRO CNOC 020 parenthetical 032 Doll Box Culvert Bridge was also sent in certification for that, signed by you guys, or by Dale.
Good.
And then he's got, we got some new information on the Code 3 inspections that we do. And I'll let Paul explain that.
So then an email, I guess I sent that agreement over for you guys to review, and they kind of withdrew it because I got some email from Brian Fuchs and was back and forth with him a couple of times. And it sounds like the DOT and their consultant's going to take over that work, and if the county needs to do anything, they'll let us know. But so I took that off the list. So currently we have no work in progress, and everything that we have worked on is complete. So I'll let you guys know that. And the other sheet, we've got some potential projects, a couple of them are on your federal aid program sheet with the DOT. The Decker Bridge is one of them. That's pretty expensive to replace it. About $380,000 in local funds it would take to do that, and it's currently scheduled in 2023, I think, for bid opening. I guess I don't know if you had other thoughts on that, or if you want to push it back again when those sheets come out in the fall, but that's where that's at. Then we've got 2 seal coat projects, or the 4 segments on different roads that would total 2 11-mile projects or 1 22-mile project if you do it all together. And it would save about $15,000 to do it together, because you wouldn't have a second design, a couple of years down the road. You've got $417,000 available in federal aid through 21. Annual allotment's about $150,000. And then on the line below that, you've got $48,800 in 100% federal funds that could be used towards that project as well. So that one's, I think, scheduled in 22. Again, you can push that back in the fall here if you want. But that'd be the next project that I guess you guys have identified. Anything I've seen, you guys did the temporary grade raise on County 8, and the water's been staying where it's at or lower, and it's been holding up good. So I guess until it comes up again, I don't know if there's any real rush to get the temporary grade raise done. And then Lena talked about, and I think the water board brought it to the culvert upgrade on County 2 in the northeast corner. Let's see, where's that at? What's the town supposed to be at? I can't remember. Yeah. So I don't know if that's, the water board wants a bigger culvert there, but it's quite expensive for the highway department to have to do that, just for the drainage project. And then the only other new one added to the list of potential projects would be the highway safety improvement projects, and mostly that was like chevrons and around curb markers and stuff. There's some pavement marking on that too, but that was from the report that the state had put together back in 2015. We have a copy of that, or excerpt to that if you want to look at it. But those are pretty, the cost of the projects is pretty minimal, so it's almost easier just to do it with local funds. Stake out where the chevrons go and going through the federal aid process to get it done. It is 90-10 cost share, so it is worth it if you have a big enough project, or if you're partnered up with other counties to get a bunch of those sites done. But for small sites, it doesn't make sense to go through the process. So with that, I guess that's what we see coming out. So unless there's some federal infrastructure funds, or it doesn't sound like there's going to be any more state funds coming out anytime real soon here. Unless we'll have production ramps back up. Would be still, I guess I mentioned it last time we came to, that it'd be a good idea to budget the local share for federal aid if you can. Since that is 80-20 or 80.93 and 19.07 local. Your dollars go a long ways between those investments, especially for chip seals, where that extends the life of pavements by quite a bit. You guys got any other project ideas or any other questions on that list? Or?
It's really not even feasible to think about much of this until we see what the state money is going to bring us. Because that cuts the match down to 5% then, correct? Local? If you use the state money in there?
Well, like the chip seals, I don't think they ever had anything that would count towards those. We always had to use local funds for the local match on that.
Mm-hmm.
But for construction, like I think a bridge project, we did that with the last culvert. Use the state funds for the local match on that.
You know, to have that oil. When you have that oil money, you know, we could use that for the match.
Yep.
Like the bridge up
Yeah,
there.
so
That'll ever come back.
And we do have funds set aside in a special fund. What do we name that, Samantha?
Highway special road project, special project.
Did it change from construction reserve or something like that?
It went from the road, that reserve or whatever, it went into its own fund.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We were having, because of the limits, the levy limits, we're having problems keeping that reserve within the road fund, because then it was, showed we had more money than we actually did. We couldn't count it towards, so we were having to constantly kind of keep expenses on the higher side.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's in a special fund of its own. It can just sit there. If it's used, it's used. When it's not, it's not. It doesn't affect the road fund.
Oh.
And any monies that will come in the future will go to this fund, and it will just be able to accumulate and be used as needed.
How much is in there right now?
Oh.
So Van Wayne's theory of budgeting works because it does carry over.
Sorry.
Well, in that instance, in a special fund, it does. so.
$850,356.81.
Okay.
So we did get certified for spraying. Brian Pfeiffer, Ken Sandwick, and I did take recertification.
Commercial one?
Online, yeah, commercial. So we're set up for that. We just have to wait till weeds get a little bigger. And we've been working on this truck that had this problem all last year, off and on. Kenny's gravel truck. And finally, the light stayed on long, and it's just like when you drive your car and that little yellow light comes on. And they were able to track it down and took it up to Gilbertson's, and they put the computer on it, and they did something to do with timing, and the guy found there was a wire that was rubbing once in a while, and so that solved it, because when that light come on, he lost
Deregulated, deregulated.
lots of power.
Yeah, deregulated, yeah.
Degraded it.
Deregulated.
Servicing the trucks, brakes, stuff. Tires are blading, dry, need some rain.
So what was our share for those two projects
The chip seal was 183,000 roughly.
total? And what was in balance in that account?
850,000.
850.
And we were gonna move forward for this fall, is that right, Wayne?
Yeah. Start setting it up for the next spring. Right?
For next spring?
Yeah.
Yep.
For the chip seal, with the bid in like February of 22, then plans need to start getting environmental stuff, which is just a
Not
couple
much,
pages worth. Yeah, it's real easy to do. You'd probably want to be looking at that in July.
I would make a motion that we instruct Wayne to move forward for the chip seal. $180,000 approximately of Griggs County taxpayer monies for next spring of 22.
Yep. Design costs would be around 15 to 20,000, and that would happen probably in July, August, if you wanted to get started on it. So that would be this year's.
The what?
The design costs would be around 15 or 20,000.
Oh.
The rest of the would be after construction starts, probably.
The next $20,000 to figure out to dump oil in the road and dump chips on top of it?
Might be like it's a range, it might be a little less.
Do those, those are bidded out then, next year, or we bid now?
Well, they're on the federal program sheet is all.
So, you've been like the Knife River and those kind of guys?
No, it'd be,
No.
it's open, but there's really only 3 chip seal outfits in the area,
Okay.
Aztec, Bituminous Paving, and Morris Seal Coat.
Oh, okay,
I think Morris did the last one, didn't
okay.
they? I think Aztec might have done the one before.
Do you
Okay,
have
three-
sorry, do you have a project number?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
Because it hasn't been, we haven't asked for one.
Okay.
We didn't know if it was gonna be one project or 2.
Okay.
Whatever happened to that pool thing that we talked about one time, that we were gonna bid the engineering portion of these? And they would have,
Yep, and you can do an RFP for a project specific, and we don't have any work going on right now, so there's no
okay,
reason you couldn't or wouldn't want to. You can solicit for this project specifically, or go out for general, whatever you'd like to do.
cause don't they have to have approval before they can submit bids?
For,
So we can see they have to be insured and those sorts of things. Don't they?
The long and the short story of it is, in theory, there should be a competitive market. In practice, there isn't.
Well, let's deal with the motion we have on the table. We have a motion by John to approve the seal coat project for spring of 2022. Is there a second?
I'll second it, John.
Seconded by Scott. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Barring none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
with that, I guess, do you guys want us to get a fee summary together for you guys' review?
Excuse me, I didn't hear all
Do you
that.
guys want us to get a fee summary together with an estimate of hours for your guys' review?
Yes.
We'll do that.
Have anything else for us, Wayne?
That's it, unless you've got something.
What are the road restrictions going on?
I don't know, they've really started getting soft now. And there's industrial builders wants to do a, what do they call it? Outlets, not outlet, but for that Fargo water line. And by the Bible camp.
Yeah, they came down empty down the county road, or the county road coming back empty, they dropped something off. I met industrial builders flatbed.
They asked a couple weeks ago if they could, and I said, well, if you go down with one load, they're gonna bring a cat down and an excavator. And it's not multiple loads, so they should have done it right away, because the roads were good at that time. Now they're starting to get softer. Today I talked to one of the chiefs, and they had loads of rebar, they had loads of aggregate, they had loads of cement or concrete to come down. I said, well, our load limits are still on. I said, so we wouldn't give any permits, and that's part of our regulations, it's not to give a permit when the load limit season is still on. So to see what happens, I guess. If it would just stay warmed up for a week, make a lot of difference. Unless you guys want to take them off.
No.
No, I've noticed, I drove on quite a few roads the last couple of days, and there's getting to be soft spots here and there, so.
How about the state, when will they be taking that off, I wonder?
And this is what I said, the state still has 6 tons per axle going right through Cooperstown and all the way to 32.
States are on every place except the
65.
southwest part of the state, aren't they?
I think they're still on. They get updates every day, a couple times a day. But I didn't look at them to see what's going on out there. I just looked at 45, 65. You know, number one still got it up
I
there.
I think the only place in the state that's off is the extreme southwest corner, southwest region, I think is.
Did the bill for these train trucks, did that go anywhere? Is that,
I think it approved, wasn't it? Approved or
I
not?
think so.
I think it was approved.
I'm not sure.
or is it a pilot program?
Yeah, I think it was.
Can't remember, I think it was approved for both House and Senate, I believe. But I think what I understand is they can't go down the interstate or something. But they could probably go down Highway 200. I think there's only certain roads that they're supposed to go on, but
Hmm.
how do you get that 5 or 6 train truck onto that road? Trailer.
I don't know. They do it. I've got family members that drive truck and say they've pulled triples and that sort of thing, and say they gotta be nuts to be thinking about this.
Yeah. I don't know what happened to that culvert, either, if that one
It went down,
did go
It
down.
did.
it went down big too.
Good.
We got, it's gonna put in the 2208 study. Or we put in the 2208 study, but it went down like 14-2 or 12-2 in the committee, and it went down, I think it was, I don't remember, pretty big in the House.
Good.
So I just suppose that tells us about the competency of our legislature when it passes in the Senate and then goes down real big in the House. Somebody not on the same page?
Well, I think that they were, I think the Senate was hoodwinked because no one, I think it snuck up on everybody. No one knew it was coming.
Can't
So-
hoodwink somebody, you can't hoodwink somebody that's paying attention.
No, you can't. They were, well, they were hoodwinked by a sob story. That's all there was to it. They were hoodwinked by backers' sob story.
Do you think the standard for the people who represent us would be that they would be able to discern what was a sob story and what was actual facts?
Oh, I agree. I agree. And the legislator that introduced the bill should have probably done a little bit of research with his neighbors before he tried to legislate the problem that really wasn't a problem.
It's a real poor excuse to claim stupidity. And that's exactly what they're doing. Jesus. Yeah, put that in there. Next time they run for re-election, use that as battle cry.
All right, thanks, Wayne. Jamie, what do you got for us for DES?
All right, we got some grants that the applications are due on April 30th. Jennifer and I are just learning this deal, so there's 100% grant paid. It's a Homeland Security grant that the county can participate in for safety apparatuses for the courthouse. After going through things, we determined 2 things that the county could look at doing. A cell phone repeater that would cover the entire courthouse. It would be a 5G repeater, and it would cover and support the band 14 emergency services band, the new band that is required for emergency services. It's a grant that we apply for. That's one of them. And the grant is a grant that we apply for. The application is due April 30th, so all I'm asking is that we apply for the grant. And we'll find out in November if it's okay, make sure that it's absolutely 100% reimbursement grant. and then, go forward with it if the commission so chooses. What I'm asking now is for permission to apply for the grant. So the first one is a cell phone repeater. I think the cell phone repeater is something that's necessary in the courthouse because we're a steel building with potentially a steel roof at some point, and the cell phone reception in here isn't terribly great at this time. So this repeater I think is a good deal, and it's 100% paid by the feds. The next thing that we talked about was putting cameras in the courthouse, and I know I've spoken with John about this. It was an idea that we had based on it being paid. Security cameras out in the general public and having one, I think it's back in the sheriff's office, that would be over the evidence locker. I guess I'm not terribly passionate about it one way or the other as far as that goes. One of the things that we did talk about, Wes and I talked about earlier today, instead of going for the whole courthouse for cameras, is having a camera in the interrogation room that would be connected by audio and by camera to a recording device for evidentiary purposes, and applying for it that way instead. So that's up to you guys. Like I said, this doesn't commit us to anything from my understanding, it's just an application, but I wanted to ask for permission to apply for the grant in the first place.
Just for discussion's sake, whenever we're given anything for free, we always have to understand that there's gonna be ongoing costs for maintenance and replacement and things like that. And then on the privacy side of it, that's a personal decision on as far as, do we want to be recording the public in the interrogation room? I think that's probably a pretty good idea. That would safeguard Wes and his people.
It would run through the same system that we use our in-car camera stuff for, so it would go right into that program.
Yeah. And I think that is probably a benefit to the county, because it would safeguard our people. I'm not, personally, I'm not real thrilled about having cameras recording me, but maybe I'm just not photogenic, I'm not sure.
Well, and like I said, it's two things that we came up with based on the grant, based on the information that Jennifer received. I don't know, I guess times are changing and people are becoming a little more there's some more unrest. You know, I don't have any passion one way or the other with the cameras. It was just something that was available to us. On the safety portion for the courthouse, Wes actually brought up the idea of at least having a panic alert system or a panic system to inform people if there is something going on. We're working on Travis with that. Sounds like it's something that can be integrated into the phone system that we have now, so we can announce or what's
So
going on.
it's more of a, because our phones are all controlled by the server, so what I was thinking, not really a panic alarm, but having a number that we can call that would call everyone to just go into a lockdown, because if something's happening and they press the panic button, of course we know, but no one else knows.
So more of a public service.
So it would just be like everyone in the courthouse, their phone would just ring, and just would lock down your office and safety. So if something's happening over in our offices, other offices aren't gonna know. And if something's happening over there, we might not know.
What is the school got, what's it, I guess that you refer to from school all the time. What
There's a
system is
PA
that?
system?
Yeah.
There's a PA system.
No, I mean, just the phones, hooked up to their phone, like different updates and stuff like that comes over the phone, you're texting.
Oh, that's
School.
texting, that's their mobile phones, I'm not talking about mobile phones,
Oh,
I'm
you're not?
talking about our office phones.
Your office, you're talking office phones, okay.
Yeah, I'm talking about our office phones, having just one number, so like, if I wanna call Sam, I just dial 200 and it'll call her from my desk. So if we just had a certain number that we could call, that would call everyone at the same time, and then it says something like a message on the phone, like lockdown or something like that.
Internally,
Yeah, internal.
okay.
So it would just be the offices here.
A big party line.
Yeah.
So I guess as far as the grants, that's all I have, just asking for permission, and of course, I'll read through the contracts and make sure that we don't have any expenses other than the maintenance. There will be maintenance expenses, like John said, I'm guessing, but I'll make sure that it's 100% Homeland Security paid contract before we sign on to it.
I'll make a motion to apply for the grant.
Motion by Stephanie to apply for the Homeland Security grant. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion?
One question I guess I have is that would you like all the cameras to be applied for, or just the interrogation camera? Right now, it's camera portion of it. Just
I have
to
my whole
clarify.
nursing home camera and I use it. I've used it many times. But
What do you think, Wes?
I'm indifferent to it. And, I got the two in my office that focuses on the window, which is nice because I don't have someone sitting there, so if I'm in the office, I can see someone walking up. But otherwise, I mean, we could have cameras up there. I'm not gonna have them up in my office. It would be something that would have to be recorded and.
Right.
go
So if
back
you
to
don't
it.
feel that there's a safety issue anyway for in the rest of
With
the
how-
offices?
With how our courthouse is set up, with, the doors are supposed to remain locked, and you're supposed to do business at the
Mhm.
window, except for, of course,
Mhm.
they don't have that option,
Yeah.
the window there, but, I guess if they put them up, it's not something that, it would just be something that would have to be recorded, because I'm not gonna sit there and watch.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I don't look at my cameras daily either.
Yeah.
But they're nice
I mean,
to
I watch
use
the
when you-
ones that are in my office regularly, because I watch for people walking up, but other than, I can sit there.
You're right.
Sure.
I think it's up to you guys if you guys want. If you think you'll use it or need it or refer back to it.
I think that, like John said, the maintenance costs are something that you'll have to
Yeah.
decide on, and if you guys have the will to want it, I think it could be an aspect, but it's not something that I'm.
I think
It's an after the fact.
If we have to choose between
And
the
so-
interrogation room and the full courtroom or full courthouse cameras, I would, I guess, say the interrogation.
Yep.
Yep.
I'd be in favor of the interrogation room,
Yeah.
because it does take some liability away from,
Mhm.
off of Wes's shoulders.
And I
Wes
wouldn't be
Department's
surprised
shoulders.
if someday, in Minnesota, all interrogations have to be recorded
Yep.
and videotaped, and I wouldn't see that someday down the road it's gonna be the same for us.
Mhm.
Sure. That's what I think your motion was for the interrogation room.
Absolutely.
That's what my second was for too.
Is there any discussion? Any further discussion? Barring none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by
Could I
saying
have the
aye.
motion read?
Very good. Motion by Stephanie to apply for the grants for cell phone repeater and cameras for the interrogation room in the sheriff's office. This is the motion that's on the table.
Thank you.
Seconded by Mark.
Yeah.
Can we proceed to vote?
Yes.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Wayne.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Senior citizens, John.
So I'm the delegate to the senior citizens, and of course, at the end, we have meetings usually twice a year. And because of COVID, we haven't had any, of course, and they have been shut down or on a limited basis operating. And so with this, we go over their finances, if they get 2 meals a year, from taxpayers, and then of course they're funded by the state of North Dakota on the transportation portion of it, a percentage of it. And then
Is that van? Is that
yeah,
different?
and then the Meals on Wheels is federal and state, but all these programs require participation from the local center. And so, as you can imagine, there's been a lot of increased costs to them. The people that are delivering the meals, of course, are gonna take precautions. The people being hauled around can't be lumped into one van anymore, so now they're making far more trips to achieve the same result. The meals now are required to be into a sealed container, and so that's increased the cost of the meals substantially. They have lost a lot of their volunteer labor because of the fear of COVID, so now things are having to be hired. And so they're doing, there has been some help on the federal government, but that's phasing out. And there's gonna be a shortage. They've always operated, on just a shoestring budget anyway. I think it would be wise use of some of the COVID money that we were allocated on the federal level. We have, what, 150,000? I think we should allocate 25 or 30,000 to the senior citizens and to use in their ongoing expenses that are on the rise because of the COVID. And they're very frugal. They'll squeeze every last ounce out of it. And
How many communities do the Meals on Wheels?
well, the Meals on Wheels go to 3 different communities.
Hanford, Cooper, and Bedford.
Bedford, right,
Oh.
and Sutton. Yeah, so there's 4, and where they used to have a lot of volunteer labor, they're not now because of, people are scared, and then more people are utilizing the service because they're same thing. You probably deal with a lot of these same issues in your job. So I don't know if this will be an ongoing. I don't know if there'll be more federal money coming. Right now, they're doing fine because there has been, through this whole COVID thing, and they haven't been doing much. The money's been building up.
Yeah.
So that money was attached for use, I believe, for COVID-related expenses or increased expenses, and I think this would definitely qualify. Everything they do is going to be of increased cost.
I know when I did my week here in town, normally it's around 13 deliveries,
No, it's 23 and 24.
and we had 28.
Yeah.
So the seniors also were scared of going out
Yeah.
and that sort of thing.
And I can't really think of a better use of that money than supporting
Yeah.
the seniors of the community. And it will giving them the money, they'll distribute it. It will be countywide.
How short do you think it'd be this year, they say? Any ideas?
Well, no, I
It's hard
look
to
at their books,
budget,
and
yeah.
it really depends on how it proceeds forward from here and what they're obligated to do and how much the federal government keeps pumping into it. But if we gave them $30,000, if it lasts for 2 years, it lasts for 2 years. They'll be very frugal.
Yeah,
with
no,
it.
I know.
We're not giving them the money, we're
No.
allocating the money
Yeah.
that was given to us.
Right now in the COVID funds, we have $154,078.05.
Yeah.
That's as of the end of the month of.
So I would think $30,000 would go a long ways to, and they're not out of money right now because
Yeah.
these programs are still in place until I think August. But you can look at the dramatically rising costs that they have and see what's gonna happen here.
And it's a good service.
Oh, absolutely.
Great service.
Meals on Wheels, and then they take people, the vans take people to their doctor's appointments,
Yeah.
I mean, you can't.
So
And it costs them $1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and now they're having to make 2 or 3 trips.
Yeah.
They can't put 3 people in there because of the
Yeah.
COVID,
Yeah.
and so. if we're gonna support anything, I think we need to step up and do this, I think.
Is that a motion?
No, I just presented it, I'll let you guys decide what you wanna do.
I think it's a very good use of those funds.
Yeah.
Agree.
I'll make the motion that we allocate 30,000 to the senior citizens organizations of the county.
Yeah, Samantha will send it out the same way she sends the tax dollars out.
I have a motion by Mark to allocate $30,000 of the federal COVID relief funds. Is that what did we call them when we put them? They weren't COVID relief, but
Public service, hold on.
we should probably make sure we talk about the same budget as it's coming out of.
Public health and safety.
Motion by Mark to transfer $30,000 from the Public Health and Safety Fund to the Griggs County Senior Citizens Clubs. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Scott. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Barring none, proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Stephanie?
Aye.
Dale votes aye. Motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
No problem.
Yeah. Application for tax abatement.
Was these senior citizens club?
No, it's a
Just senior citizens?
senior citizens.
Center?
No, they have a,
Because I know they have 4 clubs, but it's
they have
just allocated
three,
to.
three now. But it's the, whatever, well, look and see where you send it, when you send their tax dollars.
Okay.
It goes the same place.
Okay. Because I'm trying to make it in the minutes, but I don't want to say like we're allocating this to senior citizens. Because then I fear that people are going to be coming in wanting their.
Griggs County Senior Citizens Association, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what the,
Official name is.
yeah.
What is it on the tax roll?
I think it's just senior citizens.
Yeah, it's just a generic on the tax roll.
I'll look into it to make sure it's all.
Is this something that it just runs through us and we just okay it?
You guys-
Explain this to me?
Okay, so this is a tax abatement application, so they're wanting to abate taxes from 2020.
Yep.
And so the township approved it. So then on the next page, if you flip your packet over, the
Yep.
township approved it.
Okay.
So then the way that you guys have done it in the past is if the township or city approves it, you just kind of follow
Okay.
suit.
This one is a little different.
Oh, idiot. Okay.
So this abatement was approved last year for the previous year. And we did approve it, we talked about it. And now they're using the previous abatement as the basis for abating then 2020 taxes, the way it looks to me. So the process that should have taken place, if you read, so.
Yeah, I see.
Abatement to be given to reduce value, let's see, where did I read it? Okay, abatement given in 2019, but no follow-through to change the value for 2020. So,
Okay, I see that, yeah.
and in order to give the abatement in the first place on a property, there's supposed to be an assessment done.
Mm-hmm.
And then the assessment is brought before the township board. And the township board then produces a resolution on whether or not they agree with the assessment. And if they agree with the assessment, then it comes forward to us for approval. So when we talked about it the last time, we let it go through without the assessment, but now they're using the fact that
That their
it was okay.
assessment was never approved then. Who's the assessor for Rosendahl?
I don't know who the assessor for Rosendahl is, but so there's also another glaring discrepancy there if you read this thing.
Abatement became reduced value by 23.
She's the one that signed it.
Mhm.
She's the one that signed it.
So at the least, I think we need the resolution from the township of Rosendahl approving the abatement.
Oh, she put this in for herself. Oh. And she didn't get a assessment done?
Well, so I think we need the minutes from the township meeting where they approved the resolution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where they approved this?
Yeah, where they approved, the approved abatement. So if you look at on page 21, it says recommendation of the governing board of Rosendahl on April 8th, 2021, the governing board of this municipality, after examination of this application and the facts, passed a resolution recommending to the Board of County Commissioners that the application be approved. And the only signature is required is the township clerk, who happens to be the applicant.
No conflict of
A
interest.
little bit of conflict.
I don't know, I mean, it's probably straightforward, but due diligence on our part would say that we should probably see the resolution to make sure that we're not complicit. If there was a mistake made, we need to make sure that the mistake is remedied, and I'm sure the township board will provide us with the resolution, and then we can go forward with it.
And the application for abatement is dated the 17th and the approval is dated the 8th, so.
It was February 17th and
February
April 8th.
17th.
Well, it's February.
Probably
Yeah.
17.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it was the same month.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, like, okay, we did it afterwards.
It may be okay, just like you said.
I think it is.
If the township made the motion to approve it, then it.
You just want to get that doubled, so then we just have our,
We just.
cover ourselves?
Yeah, we're just trying to cover ourselves, so we just would need the meeting minutes.
Okay.
Ask for clarification.
And that's all we-
Since the applicant and the clerk are the
The
same
same.
person. it's
Yeah.
just-
When are those things sent to you, Sam?
The minutes?
of the,
I usually don't get any except for the tax equalization.
that's what this is. That's when this was.
Yeah, that was the board, April 8th, yeah.
Okay, so then maybe I have them on file.
Right, and if we have them, then we can verify it, and that's,
Okay.
if there's approval of the resolution of abatement, then we're fine.
Okay, do you guys want to pause for a minute?
Yeah.
And I can go and see if I have them?
Have a motion, we take a 10-minute break.
There you go.
Motion by John to take a 10-minute recess, or second.
Second.
Second by Stephanie.
You ready to get
Excuse
rolling?
me, I'm ready to go. I gotta pee again, I'm on. Okay.
Okay, where do we find out?
Is it on there?
Yeah, it's on there.
Okay. What's that look for?
It's on at the bottom there.
I'm gonna read that again.
Travis?
Adrian.
Yep.
Son.
I mean, technically, it meets the standard.
It does. They had a
There was a resolution put forward and the resolution passed.
Yep.
And what is the abatement? They're only
Reducing the price of a home on that property, I understand. We had it
that's what I kinda,
yeah. So what should happen now, it should be reassessed and put on the tax roll. You can't, an abatement isn't a perpetual reduction.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just supposed to be to correct a mistake.
And it hasn't been corrected, so they're requesting the abatement again, is
okay.
the long and short.
The long and short of it, I guess it falls back to how do they know it's not correct? The only way to know it's not correct is to have an assessment done.
Who does the assessment?
Yeah.
It would be the township assessor.
Assessor? Okay.
Yep.
That is Tasha Kruger. Took it on this year.
So I'd make a motion, we approve it, and with a footnote that it's gotta get taken care of.
Must be reassessed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it could be, you know.
I have a
I'll
motion,
second that.
motion by John and second by Mark to approve the tax abatement. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Barring none, let's proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
You know, it's possible it didn't get assessed because of the COVID situation.
Who knows?
Yeah, so,
Who knows?
let's wait till we get back to normal and then look at it. If it comes up again, maybe it won't.
Or they couldn't find an assessor to do it.
No, they've had an assessor.
Have they?
But
Nope, so for next year.
that was a can kicker. Yep.
Burn advisory is next on our agenda. I'm assuming we're gonna keep it in place for the time being.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think we need to change it to a burn ban and put the fee on there because I think it's kind of, it's looked as a joke. You know, it's fire, just whatever. You don't need to do it. People call the fire department and they say, hey, well, is there a burn ban? It's just an advisory, so if you want to burn, I think it should be a penalty on it that, so it's kind of more of a scare so people think about it more. And they can call the fire department, but, you know, if it's, and it'll roll with the state, right? It's a ban that we can, is this ban something we can keep all the time on? It just says, we'll follow state guidelines?
Well, what we could do, like what I presented last time, if you guys want to do one, I guess, is it can follow fire rating warning, so you can establish the floor where you want it to happen, I guess, or the ceiling of how high risk you want people to burn on. So if you want people to burn, or if people can burn on low, moderate, high days and not burn on very high extreme or red flag days, you can set it up like that. That's the way the majority of them were set around our area. I think there were 13 counties that had burn restrictions on, and 3 counties in our area that had complete burn downs on. And I think those have all backed those off no burn restrictions as well.
So if you put something established in place that just follows state guidelines, then we don't have to bring it to the table, take it off the table. It just has something that it just keeps flowing with. We'll just go with the.
Cause I had quite a few people talk to me about, especially firemen, you know, especially during that prom weekend, it was really bad. you know, it was pretty, you know, everybody's, pretty much all county was on fire for a while there.
Yeah, but since we did this, have we had any problems? No.
No.
Are
but
people, I mean, is
It
it our
snowed-
job to
it
tell
snowed-
people
it
what
snowed
they can
all the
and
time.
can't do? Huh?
It snowed a little bit and
Well,
hell.
I trust the citizens of Griggs County to make good decisions. I'm not here to be the school marm.
Uh-huh.
And if they burn something that causes problems, there are already penalties in place for that. We're not Big Brother here.
No,
I think it
but-
gives them a good guideline to go by though, because they're going to call the fire department, and who in the fire department's gonna be like, well, I don't know, the state says this, but I guess if you want to, go
The
ahead.
state does not have a burn ban in place. The state punted it and said, we don't want to tell people what to do.
But they do have regulations as to when's a good time to, you know, when to have fires, when not to have fires, if it's in the red zone or in the.
Just advisory, and that's what we have in place, an advisory. We advise that people not burn when we're in the red zone. That's what the advisory says. That's what we just don't, it's right here on the back page.
Right.
That's what it says. Mark stated it very well at the last meeting, and we put it into place, and I'm not in favor of telling people what to do. People are able to make their own decisions, and I believe in accountability. If they make the wrong decision, there is avenues for that too. But we're affecting people's livelihood by not letting them burn. And there was a number of fires that took place between when we put this on and now, and there were
But
no
we're not-
problems.
The way it's proposed, John, isn't to absolutely ban burning, it's to restrict burning when it's the most dangerous time. So like, I know what day that everybody's talking about, there are a bunch of fires, and that would have been a permissible day to burn.
That's right.
So,
So I don't know what we're trying to fix here. We haven't had a problem. This worked. This advised people that they probably shouldn't burn if the conditions don't warrant. And if they're gonna burn, they should take precautions accordingly, and they have.
So you don't want to have a fee on there if they do burn on a very high or extremely high or
But then,
whatever it is.
Doesn't the fire department bill these people?
They do, there's a fire call plus, you know, damage
Right.
And
on that one.
time and so much for a truck.
Yeah,
and-
correct.
and-
Initial
and those
fire cost
sorts of things.
$250
Yeah.
each time.
well, it depends. I don't think Binford does charges for fire, and actually Glenfield I know doesn't, because we've had fires out in our area, and it depends on if they're part of the fire district or a fire department. I think a district like Cooperstown is able to charge, the rural fire departments can't charge for a fire call.
But if you put a penalty on there and Mark goes and burns and doesn't have any problem, everything all works all right, he still could be subject to that penalty even though it didn't cause any damage.
If he burns on a very high or very extremely high day, the days that we choose to that you shouldn't burn on.
There you go, that we choose.
Well,
I mean, well, who burns on very high? You know, it's fun. You have
I'll be
these
surprised.
flag days, right? These days that are flagged to be danger days to burn on.
But aren't the people burning better apt to make that decision than you and I? They're the ones on the scene. They're the ones that are burning their land. They know what's gonna happen. They took the precautions to do it.
So if they decide to burn on a very high day,
Yep.
according to this, and it goes all crazy and loses everything, it's just like, oh well, I guess that's just what happens, you know.
And then they're subject to civil penalties. Then they are responsible for the damage they did.
I just think it would kind of be like a little sparker, be like, ooh, let's stop around this because you could get fined. It's kind of just make them think a little bit before they do it.
But you're assuming that every time they burn, that it gets out of control and there's damage. That's not the case.
No, I'm just saying if they burn something on these extreme days that they know they shouldn't because they're smart, good,
Who said
smart
they shouldn't?
citizens
Who
of the
said they
community.
shouldn't? You and I?
Well,
We shouldn't be
let's see.
telling people what they can
Well,
do.
the fire danger rating map is telling us advisories as to when to not burn.
How about the farmer that's out there on his own land, knows the conditions, has burned it many times, and knows it's not gonna go anywhere? He's the one that should make the decision.
And it's not always land burning, just burn your garbage in your yard. It's burning,
You can't burn the garbage in your yard. It's already a city ordinance, you can't do that.
burning garbage or burning pits or
You
burning.
can't,
It's
you already
just-
can't do that. There's already ordinances against that.
Okay.
I mean, you guys
That's
can
my-
vote on it. I'm
that's
not
just
telling,
my
I'm not telling the
suggestion.
citizens of Griggs County to what they can do with their own property on their own time.
Yes, I'm with Steph, but I'm just that, I've had some people complain about it to me, so, especially the firemen, you know, so,
That there's no fine.
yeah.
I haven't had a call,
Yeah.
but I don't get
I've
phone
had just the
calls.
opposite.
I don't get phone calls, so.
Yeah.
Disagree, I guess, but, yeah.
That's right.
And so this advisory's on for always and forever?
No,
Until
No,
we
you can take it
remove
off.
it.
till we remove it.
That's
here.
why it's.
But
on
we
the-
wouldn't need
That-
to remove it.
That's why I'm.
That's why it's on the agenda. If we feel
Okay.
conditions have changed, then we
Once
would
things start
remove
to
the
green up.
advisory.
And I was supposed to-
We take it off. I'll make a motion, to take it off if you want.
Okay.
No motions?
No.
Next on the agenda is tax director.
Are we still advertising for tax director?
Not in the papers, just on the website, I think.
Okay.
Maybe when the COVID thing gets over, maybe somebody will step up.
Old courthouse, new courthouse.
Have we heard anything from the state since NDSU sent all the
No.
stuff they need? Maybe we should contact them.
Okay.
Were you expecting something?
No.
Have you been in there and checked on it, or still haunted?
I haven't been over there.
Too many spider webs.
Future business.
There will be a liquor license coming to you guys at the next meeting that we are aware of. That is about all I know.
Number what?
A liquor license.
A new one or existing one?
Well, Sutton Pub applied for one for a year, and now Tammy is no longer going to be there, so they've got somebody else going to be taking over.
In Sutton.
And so the name of the bar hasn't changed, but ownership has.
Oh.
So
It
We-
follows the owner.
It follows the owner, so.
So in this case, Tammy Jacobson was operating the Sutton Pub, or the Sutton Bar, whatever it was called. But it's leased from the Sutton Development. So she applied for it in her name, her as operator. And she's no longer operating it, she's operating it in Cooperstown. So now there's a new person that's operating it. So it's my opinion that that person needs to apply for a new liquor license because it wasn't, she wasn't a manager of the Sutton Pub, or Sutton Bar. The bar is owned by the development and the bar is a standalone business by itself. And she was an operator of it, leasing the bar and paying the bar to operate it.
Yeah, the building ownership doesn't matter. I
Right,
understand.
it's the ownership of the business.
It's the actual dispensing of the product,
Right.
and so,
So it's a new owner, it's a new business, you can just kind of cross out the Sutton Pub deal, it's just a new owner, they're just in the same building that the other bar was in.
so we'll need the state license first, because that's the background check. And then we can approve, then we can issue a county license. So that's the first step, they'll have to come to us with a state license, correct, Jimmy?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think it's permissible to prorate it, I mean, from whenever it is, May or whatever, for the end of the year, but I believe that she needs a new license.
Yeah.
How much is the license per year?
$100, I think.
It's just minimal.
I think it's $100 for liquor,
Yep, 50 for the beer.
50 for the beer for 6 months. I think it's doubled for the year.
I think it's 200 or 250.
250, yeah. Yeah. But anyway, the state does you have to have a state license, but they run a background check because you can't be a felon, you can't, there's a few things will disqualify you. So then, once they have that, then we're free to go ahead and give them one.
And we contacted Augie about this or whatever, and he was okay with
Yeah,
that.
the building really doesn't have much to do with it.
Yeah. I thought because of the name, because
Oh.
it's always been in the Sutton Community Development, and then just recently when Tammy took it over, then we started putting it in Tammy's name. If we would have kept it in the Sutton Community Development, then it would have been fine. But
Sutton Community Development did at one point operate the bar when
Yep.
Augie and Dolores
Yep.
ran the bar. It was run under Sutton Community Development, so they didn't. The profits or whatever, or however it was run, it was actually given back to the Sutton community. Now they had an operator that was just leasing the facility, and now it's going to continue the same way with an operator
Yep.
leasing the facility.
And they need to have a license.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mark to adjourn, is there a second? Second by Scott. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Barring none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned at
The fastest meeting we've ever had.
3:52.
Over before we started.
Next regular meeting is Thursday, May 6th at 2:30 PM in this room.